everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lollygaggers Dynasty Recap. I'm your host, Zang, and I am joined for this special episode by the one and only Ace. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
Should be good.
I'm excited.
Obviously, as we previewed last week, this is, we're not going to be recapping 3 days worth of matchups, although those are already pretty interesting. We see some big leads. Excited to recap that a week from now, but we're going to be diving in a little bit to a retrospective, a look back at what the standings looked like in weeks 3, 6, 9, 12, and then, of course, what they look like now. So we can see the contour of that a little bit, and then a little bit of a preview for the first-year player draft, which will be coming up this coming winter, springtime. I know there have already been a lot of picks traded, and so this is a chance to get a little bit of a look at what some of those picks might be for. We'll be covering 11 players, not just the top 10, but one bonus player as well, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But before we do, we are going to get started with a brief transaction tracker. We did have just one trade this week. I was hoping for a few more, but that's okay. Everyone took their All-Star break for what it was, and that's good for you guys. Good to enjoy that time. The trade was from me. I traded Wilson Contreras, Jamison Tyone, and Trey Savage, who is the MLB number 54 and Toronto's number 2 prospect. He's a starting pitcher. Traded those three over to Bose for Bryce Miller and Joe Musgrove. So Contreras and Tyone were both actually all three of these players were acquired by trade this year. I got you Savage from the trade that brought me Jackson Chourio and Jung-Hoo Lee in exchange for Corbin Carroll, Tommy Edman, and Tommy Edman, and I also got you Savage there. And I got Contreras and Tyone back when I thought perhaps I was competing this year. And Contreras, obviously, he has been the second best catcher this year, so it was a good move. Tyone has been top 15 in pitchers, so a good move. But unfortunately, I should have looked a little bit more at my points totals, because I'm very much not competing this year. And they are just not helpful pieces for me right now. So a little bit what we talked about the last couple weeks, just some asset management. I traded them over to Bose. They will be very helpful pieces for him. And in exchange, I did get back Bryce Miller, who's a young pitcher over in Seattle. Injured right now, but I think should be back within the next couple weeks. And then Joe Musgrove, who's currently recovering from Tommy John surgery. Those of you who are a part of our redraft league will remember that I took him with my last pick in the draft. And then immediately found out he's having Tommy John. So a little bit of a full circle moment here. But obviously a future play for me. Bryce Miller, young guy, will certainly be good for the next few years. And Joe Musgrove should be back early, mid next year. And so hopefully can be kind of that, 20 points per start pitcher that he's been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this was obviously recognizing what kind of season you were having, as you already mentioned. And kind of recognizing that it's time to sell while it's hot, and try to get as much value as you possibly could, and it's respectable, 100%. Getting some solid pieces back. I think Musgrove, like you mentioned, has high upside. I think Miller definitely has the high upside. I think Musgrove just has the potential to bounce back. But I think for what you gave up, this is a pretty solid return. I think, just looking ahead to next year, this is a solid move for you. You get a young piece and a potential piece that could bounce back.
Yeah, and for Bose, I think I do feel like this is a pretty win-win trade, to be honest.
Yeah.
His catcher, obviously, is Adley Rutschman, the hometown kid. But Adley's been having a tough year. He's on the IL right now, so this punches in a catcher for him for this year as he's, trying to compete for a title. Jamison Tyone has been a really, really, really solid piece out there in Chicago, and a future play for him in Yasavage, who could be up in the next year and a half or so. So I think overall pretty win-win for all sides. I'm really happy with Bryce Miller. Speaking of somebody who's a part of this trade, he's somebody I definitely have my eye on. All those Seattle guys are so enticing. But, hopefully that'll be something good for me, and those pieces can help Bose in his little stretch run here. So that is the only transaction we have to cover. Ace, do you want to talk us through a little bit of a retrospective on our standing segment.
Sorry, I just had to point out real quick. I traded Wilson Contreras away for Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Let's throw it out there one more time.
Let's not think about this as Mizorowski for Bryce Miller and Joe Musgrove.
Yeah,
Yeah, one last time you get to twist the knife on me for that one.
One last time.
That's a lot of Red Sox fans right now are talking about wanting to get Connor Wong off the roster as just to rid us of the demons of the Mookie Betts trade, and that's kind of what I feel like with getting Contreras off my roster. It's all in the past now.
As good as he was doing, he just wasn't doing as good.
It hurt every time I saw it.
It hurt. All right, to take the pain away a little bit, let's get into the standings. We're going to go basically kind of like by quarters here. So we are, this is week 17 we're currently on right now. So bear with us, but we'll start at the end of week 3. Totally different outlook on this league than what we saw. We saw Serial at the top of the league, only player undefeated at 3-0. Hideki, Bose, yourself, Zang, and Mike right behind him at 2-1 apiece, and then the rest of the league at 1-2 apiece. 6 through 12. So obviously all very close, only through 3 weeks through the season. But surprising to see Serial on top 3-0, and then the curse was laid, and then Zang had to put the curse on him, and here we are.
Curses.
End of week 6, Hideki remains, firmly in that top spot, 5-1. Myself is second, and you're third, followed by Mike at fourth. All of us at 4-2 apiece. Al Martinet, Serial, Bose, and Prius round out the 8 at 3-3, and then our bottom 4, Oki, Peach, JMC at 2-4, and then N10 at the bottom, 1-5. So this is when the basement, run begins for N10. But boy, does he have a bit of a resurgence. We don't see it yet, though. We don't see it quite yet here in week 9. Hideki firmly remaining in that top spot, followed by Mike and Prius. And that's kind of like our top 3 now. So week 9, you kind of start to see this league really start to form and take shape. You see the separators, the top of the league separate themselves from, the middle of the pack. And it still kind of holds true. But continuing on that 4, 5, 6 spots, you have Bose, Peach, and myself. This was one of my big falls. I was in the 2 spot pretty much up until week 8, but a couple of losses there dropped me down to the 6th spot. Zang still holding strong at 7, Oki at 8, JMC at 9, Al Martinet and Serial down at 10 and 11, and N10, like I mentioned. That long basement run still going on strong through week 9. Coming into week 12 now, though, this is when things start to get really interesting. You see Mike at the top with Prius, both having the same record there. Hideki at the 3rd spot. So like I mentioned, top 3 pretty set still, and spoiler alert, they will be the same top 3 currently in the standings. Bose, Peach, myself, and JMC all rounding it out, kind of in that playoff record line, we'd like to say. It's obviously the top 6 teams, but 7 of us, all right there vying. Al Martinet in 10 with the big rise up to 9 now, up 3 spots from week 9, starting to make his comeback. Zang, the fall has been gracious and drastic, all in one measure.
This is all still in the losing streak.
It's all still in the losing streak. And Serial, man, what a flip from week 1 to week 12, or excuse me, week 3 to week 12, on top of the world, and it's just been rough ever since. And now we get to the current standings of where we're at. Mike still holding that top spot, solely in that top spot at 11-5 currently. Flaming and Hideki and Bose all rounding up the top 4 at 10-6 apiece. Shocker, though, through points and head-to-head matchups and things like that. Mike, Prius, and Hideki have continued to be the top 3 through, I think it's been like 6 or 7 weeks now. So, that's pretty impressive to see. And then we have Peach and myself rounding out the playoff spot. JMC is just beneath that line through a couple of head-to-head matchups, although we all have the same record at 9-7. In 10 with the huge climb all the way up to 8. He is 7-9, still a couple games behind, but he's still right there. There's absolutely time for him to come back. He just has to keep winning. that's the we talked about it last week. That's the crusher starting so poorly is now you got to go on an insane run to even make pace with the rest of the league. Oki right behind in 10 at 7-9 as well, so don't count him out yet as well. I think a lot of people are talking about in 10, just because of the big rise he's had. I think Oki can definitely make some noise there too. He was my sleeper to sneak into a playoff spot come postseason. Al Martinet and yourself, Zang, rounding out 5-11, and Serial still holding true in that basement. 4-12. He is 1-12. Since starting 3-0. That is truly one of the biggest fall-offs we've seen. As it's a lot of people have been saying for the Rockies, it's getting late early for Serial. So, with that all being said, I think this league for the first season, I know it's not quite over yet, we still got a bit to go, but I think it's been an absolute smashing success. We knew there was going to be a few teams that, are just not competing through injuries, other various things that happen, guys that don't pan out like they should, guys that, collapse when they should have been, poised for breakout years. But to see 9 of the 12 essentially still vying for, obviously the 6 in the playoff spots, but to have 9 teams essentially still fighting for playoff spots, that's pretty awesome. You can't ask for much more than that in your first year of Dynasty.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's pretty entertaining to look back through these and, notice week 6, boy, I'm riding at 4-2. This is looking great. And then knowing what comes next, that losing streak. Obviously, the same thing with Serial, seeing, on the flip side, in 10 at 1-5, just wallowing in the basement down there in week 6. And then, boom, he pops right up to 8th place by this week. I know technically he is 7-9, but he is playing me this week, so, he's basically 8-9. We can, just kind of chalk that one up. I'm just, flipping through Fantrax a little bit. We only have 6 weeks before the playoffs start.
Holy shit.
So, playoffs start week 23. There's the first round in week 23, the second round in week 24, and then week 25, or period 25, I should say, is actually 2 weeks
combined,
long.
Yeah.
The finals is 2 weeks long. And, we always do that because the last week tends to be a little weird, and you want to make sure you're getting a nice full sample size for that final. So, just about 6 weeks away before we're talking playoffs. Man. So, I think with that being said, we can comfortably mathematically eliminate a couple of teams. Even if I were to go 6-0, I'd only be 500, and that's probably not getting me in. Maybe that's not technically mathematically eliminated, but it's
it's good. Yeah, with the way some of these teams are set up, barring, realistically, and obviously we knock on wood, barring drastic injuries to multiple players, I'd argue, because a lot of these top teams their depth is just insane. It's going to be hard to dethrone some of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm obviously looking forward to those next 6 weeks. Man, 6 does not feel like a lot, I have to say. That is, these matchups are getting more and more exciting as we go. Looking a little bit past that, though, of course, they're for you all in the playoffs. Ooh, that's what's exciting. But for us in the basement, I've got my eyes a little bit on this first-year player draft. So, of course, as you all know, the MLB draft just took place. Teams got to select their own players, and soon we will get to select them. So just a reminder on what the first year player draft is. It's basically what it sounds like. It's anybody who is coming into their first year in a major league organization. So that is guys who were drafted this year. That is guys who are signed through the international window, which is usually in mid-January. Obviously, you'll probably remember Roki Sasaki being the big name that was signed there, but typically this is where your international prospects are coming from. So guys like J-Rod, guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Jackson Churio, these are all guys who are signed sort of from that international pool. And, so those guys would all be eligible for the first year player draft. And then, of course, any guys who are coming over from the international leagues. We think, of course, of people like Otani and Yamamoto and Kodai Senga and cats like that. So, for today, we're mostly going to be focusing on people who were drafted. Obviously, that second category, those guys signed in the international window, that hasn't happened yet. We don't really know what's going down. So hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit of a preview of that once that window closes up. But we will cover the top 10 draft picks in the class. I didn't really do any sorting by like what I think of guys or anything. This is literally just picks 1 through 10. We'll talk over them a little bit. And then there is one name that, spoiler alert, has already confirmed he will be posting to come over to MLB next year, and we'll talk about him as well. So let's start with the top of our first-year player draft. Eli Willits was selected number 1 overall by the Nationals. He is projected to end up around number 35 on the MLB's top 100, and you can expect to see him in the MLB around 2028. So a couple years. He is a young guy, only 17. Doesn't have one really standout tool, but overall a really, really good ball player. He is your classic 5-tool kind of guy. Great hitter, good power, quick on the base paths, good fielder. Just not that one like, oh my God, you look at his power, or oh my God, you look at his speed, and that really stands out. But obviously this is a risk here. It was a risk for the Nationals. A big surprise that they ended up taking him here at first overall, but with a 17-year-old, he's got a lot of time to develop in that system, and we've seen them be able to develop not just hitters, but young hitters. Bryce Harper, Soto were both, teenagers when they came into MLB. I don't think that'll be the case for Willits. I think it'll take him a couple more years, but they're a good organization there in terms of developing young guys. Our next pick, number 2 overall, was Tyler Bremner. He was selected in a big surprise by the Angels. He was not expected to go this high. The projection I was looking at does not have him in the top 100 for MLB, but he is likely to debut around 2026. I feel maybe even a little more confident about that one. Angels love to push their guys into the majors pretty quickly,
often to their detriment.
Yeah, often sometimes their detriment for sure. Although Neto has been pretty great. That's been a good one for them.
Hitters, they're great at promoting batters. Pitchers, on the other hand,
for sure, maybe need a little more time to cook.
A little more work
in the minors. Bremner's got a mid-90s fastball, and like truly a plus filthy changeup. Definitely looking to develop his breaking balls a little more. He kind of has the upside of a number 2, but the curveball or slider or slurve or whatever he kind of picks as his de facto breaking ball, it absolutely has to develop in the minors for him to reach that ceiling. Cade Anderson's a left-handed pitcher. He was drafted 3rd overall by the Mariners. He's likely going to be around number 40 on MLB Top 100, and we could see him as soon as late 2026. He was a college guy. He's much more of a high-floor pitcher. Obviously, in a great lab with the Mariners, they clearly know how to develop pitchers. Mid to low 90s fastball and really, really, really great secondaries. He has a number of good pitches. I think a couple breaking balls and a good off speed, a splitter that can kind of gives him that high floor of a guy who can throw a lot of pitches and kind of throw the kitchen sink at you. He projects more as a number 2 or a 3 than true ace, but again, this is Seattle. They are clearly really good at developing these pitchers, so he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. Number 4 overall was the expected number 1 overall pick, and did not end up going there. But Ethan Holiday, obviously a really cool story, seeing the young shortstop prospect go to the Rockies where his dad made his name. He's likely to debut around 25 on the MLB Top 100. He's the highest on this list. So, to point this out, this is not the strongest class.
No.
Obviously a couple years ago, I always mentioned the Skeens draft where he popped right into the top 10. We'll see that sometimes. And again, these are projections. He easily could make it in the top 15, top 10, but projection I'm looking at has him around 25 on the MLB top 100, and probably won't see him until around 2028 as well. He is a little bit different than his brother. 6'2", 200, probably won't stick at shortstop, but absolutely just picturesque left-handed swing. Beautiful. There's definitely some swing and miss concerns. He is, like I said, probably not going to stick at shortstop, more likely to be a third base guy, but prodigious raw power. I mean, this is the type of guy that, could, I don't want to say lead the league in homers, but, he has that type of power. And obviously at Coors, that is a place where you can tap in. So great family name, we know for sure. Yeah. Obviously. And
I was going to say too, like really quickly, I'm always a huge fan of guys that obviously have the right tangibles and things like that, but also that come from, baseball backgrounds and have, siblings, parents, things like that in, the sport they play. I think it's just like such a difference maker. I know it obviously doesn't pan out all the time, and if you look across sports, there's tons of cases where it's like, wow, the parents were 1,000% better than the child, and the child never even lived up to it, in the slightest. But I always just think like growing up in that type of environment, it just prepares you. I wouldn't be shocked if we see him even earlier than 2028.
Yeah, could see him, within the next couple of years, maybe late call up in 27 or mid-year. I mean,
it's the Rockies, man. I mean, I think him as a prospect. No, I'm just kidding. But
he might be able to make the team now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, dude, they're bad. So they need him as soon as possible. And like you mentioned, just a storyline with his dad playing for them as well. Like, I think it's just all around a feel-good pick. And obviously, as a Dodgers fan, I don't ever want to see the Rockies, do good. But man, I just feel for Rockies fans. It's just never-ending agony and despair in that franchise.
Yeah, they could use a big name like this for sure. Yeah. That feels like one they could. Yeah, and I mean, he is clearly one of the best prospects in this draft. I don't know this for sure. I'm wondering if it's the Nationals. They're not too cheap. The Rockies kind of are. I was saying I wonder if it's signing bonus stuff, why he didn't go earlier, but you never know. Obviously he's got to work on the swing and miss, but hopefully he will kind of take care of that to a reasonable degree in the minors.
Yes.
And he could. Sorry about all the text messages. Shut him off. Then our last one in the top 5 is left-handed pitcher Liam Doyle, who went to the Cardinals at number 5 overall. He's probably around number 30 on the MLB top 100. Could debut around 2026, 2027. Truly overpowering strikeout stuff that he's got. High upper 90s fastball. Definitely working on those secondary pitches a little bit there, but big name. And I believe, again, based on this projection model I'm looking at, the highest ranked pitcher on this list went number 5 overall. Is interesting. They were saying not typically the kind of player you see go to the Cardinals. They typically like those high floor, reliable, and Doyle is not that. He is high ceiling, overpowering stuff. Definitely a risk here, but man, if it clicks, you're looking at a real prospect. So as we look at that top 5, Ace, what's a name that stands out to you?
I mean, it has to be obviously, Ethan Holiday would be the normal pick, but I think Tyler Bremner for me is the most intriguing one here because the Angels have gotten pitching wrong so much. And I know Hideki's, kind of potentially cringing or agreeing with this, but like they need to get this pick right so much for where they took him. Like, if this draft pick doesn't work out, it's going to be a rough go of it in LA. I mean, it's already a pretty rough go of it, or in Anaheim, I should say. It's already a pretty rough go of it, but I just think, I don't want to say reaching on a guy like that, because I always hate, saying that, but based on all the rankings and everything, it was a reach.
Oh, yeah.
And, I just, if the breaking ball doesn't develop, and I'm sorry, I don't have the confidence that the Angels farm system can develop it, then you're looking at it as a waste of a pick, and it was the number 2 pick, and you had Ethan Holiday right there.
Mm-hmm. Ethan Holiday. And to speak to your pitching point, Kate Anderson and Liam Doyle, in every draft projection, we're going ahead of Bremner. Yep. He is definitely a name to watch. You also wonder, with all those stakes, Not that, you think teams really don't prior, but like, are they like, okay, this is a number 2 pick, we have to get this right, and they, make sure everything is done the right way with him. That's something that comes to mind there. For me, the name is Doyle. I have to say, Cade Anderson would kind of be my second pick. With these first-year player drafts, I love to take pitchers. Obviously, with them being such a a premium here. But Doyle, I've watched some video of his stuff. Holy shit! He is one of those. Again, if it all clicks, these are prospects. We know next to nothing. But he is one of those, if it all clicks, must-see TV type guys. Went 5th overall to the Cardinals. I would not be surprised if we see him go much higher than 5th in our first-year player draft.
Yeah, I could definitely see him going top 3.
Yeah,
in our draft.
Even top 2, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I have a feeling I know who the number 1 overall pick is going to be. But,
yes, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We will quickly cover picks 6 through 10, though. Seth Hernandez, the right-handed pitcher, went to the Pirates, 6th overall. You'll notice a pretty noticeable drop as we get to 6th here. He's projected around 80 on the MLB Top 100. Again, ETA around 2028. Upper 90s fastball, really plus change. He's only 19, so young guy. What I will say for the Pirates, for all their problems, they clearly know what they're doing with pitchers. Jared Jones, Bubba Chandler, obviously Paul Skeens. I think Luis Ortiz, is that his name? Or is that the guy in... I think there's definitely a Luis Ortiz in Cleveland, obviously, who got suspended. But they have another, they have another guy. The Pirates know what they're doing with pitchers, so a young guy, I have a decent amount of faith for them to take care of him here. Again, with that... speed plays, so, velo plays, I should say, upper 90s fastball, and a good change should do well for him.
They're trying to build, an all-star pitching staff.
Yeah.
Which is totally respectable. I completely applaud what they're trying to do here. I applaud them. Obviously there was tons of rumors. I don't think they were ever true, but tons of rumors of they wanted to look to trade Skeens because they didn't want to, eventually have to pay him in the future. The haul you could get for him now. No, you do not trade Skeens under any circumstance unless you plan on selling your franchise.
Yeah.
And even then, the disservice you're doing to Pirates fans is just unfathomable. But either way, I truly believe that the Pirates are building the right way. They're going pitching staff first. They already have a couple offensive pieces. So I think, in my humble opinion, maybe people will disagree with me on this, I think it's a little bit easier to find batters than it is pitchers.
Definitely.
Take that for what you will, But I think that the Pirates, maybe when he does eventually get called up, he will get called up to a much better situation than what Paul Skeens got called up to, where he is a negative win-loss record, but a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah, that is certainly the hope, that we see a little bit better of a future for Seth Hernandez. Avia Arquette, the shortstop, went to the Marlins. He is a really interesting guy. Definitely some hit tool concerns, but 6'5", 220 is a big boy. And he just kind of profiles as that annual, 25-plus home run guy at third base. Projected to appear around 50 on the top 100, and we could see him as soon as next year or the year after. He was a college guy, so I think the first college bat off of the board. So, that is a good name. Jojo Parker, another shortstop. He went to Toronto at 8th overall. Probably appearing around 75 on the top 100. He's a later guy, ETA probably around 2028, 2029. Really smooth lefty swing, plus hit tool and power. I'm burning through these next ones a little bit as they become less, of the top prospects. But Steele Hall is a shortstop who was drafted by the Reds, 9th overall. He's projected to be right at 100, so kind of our last guy on the top 100. Another 2028 guy, speedy, athletic, real power. Sounds a little bit like another Red shortstop. I know not to put too high a comp on him, obviously. But he definitely needs to work on hitting breaking balls. That was sort of seen as his big kryptonite and probably what made him fall a little bit in the draft there. But a guy like that, you can definitely, you can dream on with, a speed power profile that is always going to play in fantasy. And then the last draft prospect we will talk over is Billy Carlson, shortstop drafted by the White Sox, ETA 2028. look, I'm not going to lie, this is not a guy people should be taking with the top 10 pick. Certainly in fantasy, he is a plus glove at shortstop, so he was kind of described as a better real-world prospect than a fantasy prospect. He will definitely be valuable for the White Sox as that, elite defender, but fantasy, that doesn't matter so much. Exactly. He is a good athlete. He's got kind of 20 home run upside, but that's
if
really...
this dude can, bat... Like I always say, if you're able to, like you said, 20 home run upside if it all clicks. If this guy can bat 275 plus, bat 20 home runs a season, and play great defense for the Sox, he will be better than 90% of the guys they've had in the last decade plus.
Then he'll stick, yeah. And that, go ahead.
I was just saying that might be being lenient.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I will say from a fantasy upside, guys with good defense always play. So the one thing you can be sure of is this guy will not
play games. Yeah,
he will not hurt for playing time. So that's one way to look at it. If I am to give my personal advice, I would not take him with...
Find the positives.
Yeah. I would not take him with a top 10 pick, but a decent prospect nonetheless, and somebody we could definitely see go in the second round with that sort of high floor there. Well, as I mentioned, we are covering 11 players, not just 10. There is a reason for that, because... Munetaka Murakami has already announced that he will be coming to MLB this year. You may remember him from the World Baseball Classic, where he helped lead Team Japan to that title. I'm sure we'll get another look at him this year in the upcoming WBC. He's a left-handed hitting third base, first base, so sort of corner infield type guy. Played for the Yakult Swallows. He is only 25, so a young guy. He is, not at all like a sort of a veteran that you're bringing in. Obviously he has played a lot, but not in that 30s era. He is for sure at least posting for MLB, and he will definitely have some suitors because he is a truly elite power bat. 56 home runs in 2022, and he has surpassed 30 in each of the last 4 years. The only reason it wasn't the last 6 years is because he hit his career low of 28 in that fifth year there. So he is, and obviously this is over there in the NPB, but he is an elite power bat. Some career stats: he's a 270 hitter. He's hit 224 home runs, 600 or RBI, and he has a 945 OPS. So, of course, our numbers do not translate directly over to MLB, but this is legit.
Yeah.
This is legit.
This guy's going to be the number one overall pick in our league.
He will, in all likelihood, be the number one overall pick. I am looking at the teams at the bottom of the standings. I don't know what Serial Chillers views as his timeline. I know for me, who I frankly view myself as a potential playoff team next year, I think this is really a year where I need to kind of get some things sorted out. But next year, a lot of the I had a lot of AAA guys coming into this year, which I think contributed to some of that slide as they were adjusting. By next year, they should be pretty firmly set in, so I believe that I should be competitive next year. If I had the first overall pick, I can confidently say now I would be taking Murakami. For a team like Serial Chillers, I don't know where he is. Maybe a guy with that, a Liam Doyle and Eli Willett, somebody who will fit his window a little bit more might be the pick, but boy, it's hard not to dream on this. And you think about some of the organizations he might be going to. Obviously, there's a team in Los Angeles who has a pretty good history with Japanese players, and to my understanding, has a bit of an opening at third base. I know the Yankees certainly need some help at third base. A lefty power hitter fits nicely in that ballpark. He is going to be
him in New York would be fucking disgusting.
He is going to be a well sought after bat this summer or this winter. Pardon me, in the in the international signing period. So that is obviously a name to keep an eye on there. Like I said, he is probably going number one overall. And yeah, should be interesting. I mean, that is obviously when you have these first-year player drafts, typically it's not these types of guys that are going number one overall because you're going to want to grab a prospect, blah, blah, blah. But with a name like that, man, 54 home runs a couple years ago, that is something you can really dream on to be, a top player on your team. Even if he's hitting 30 home runs, you take 20 away, like that is still a top guy. So
yeah, he's going to be very good for somebody, that's for
yes.
sure. Even somebody like Serial, even if you feel like at some point next year you don't feel like you're being able to compete, the asking price you could get for him would be so astronomical that the pieces you would get back almost would for certain set you up for playoff success in the future.
Yeah, you might be able to get a couple of those prospects instead of just one. So, as we mentioned, only 25. Like this is not.
He's young, dude.
It's a young guy.
He's got so many years ahead of him.
Big name to keep an eye on. Definitely should be interesting. That's a little preview of our first year player draft, and just a look back at the standing segment. Next week should be a very fun episode as we recap a 10-day period. We're, I think, already seeing a couple people in the 200s after just these couple days, and with 15 starts a person. We're going to see some big numbers. Oh, yeah. Oki's up in the 300s, pardon me. So,
yes, Flaming's right behind him. Figures, again, we have the two highest scorers in the same matchup so far again.
Going
what
up,
a game.
Yeah. Projected at 800 for Flaming Priya, so we might see that crest there.
That would be insane.
That should be a lot of fun. We are looking forward to talking over it all next week, and we will see you then. Good luck in your matchups.
Hell yeah, have a good one, y'all. We'll see you next week. Take care.